Joe Biden, hot off of his recent political successes, is now going on the campaign trail to help other Democrats get elected in their midterm races. And he had a little rally in Rockville, Maryland, where he kind of did all the different things, talked about many different subjects, but I have a couple moments to show you. The first is him talking about how he has respect for conservative Republicans. They disagree, but he has respect for them. He doesn't have respect for MAGA Republicans. So kind of pointing out that distinction that we talk about a lot on the show, which we can disagree heavily and still think that kind of typical Republicans are super damaging in their policy prescriptions, but you have to recognize there's a big difference between that and this MAGA Republican brand that is now so popular and has pretty much taken over the Republican Party. So we'll show you that moment and then show you him responding to a heckler.
What's happened is there are not many real Republicans anymore. By the way, your sitting governor, he's a Republican you can deal with. We disagree. No, I'm serious. But at least he's within the mainstream of the Republican Party. I respect conservative Republicans. I don't respect these MAGA Republicans. And folks, everybody thinks I'm exaggerating when I say this, but they're coming after your Social Security as well. And you think I'm kidding?
Yep. We have sitting Republican senators advocating for sunsetting every social program, every federal program every 5 years, which would put a situation in place where absolutely Social Security, as well as Medicare, as well as all the other things that people benefit greatly from, would be on the chopping block every 5 years, which is stupid. So Biden is absolutely telling the truth there about people's Social Security being threatened, which is important you make that point, because right, left, and center, people want their Social Security and people want, Medicare, and they enjoy those programs. So now here is him getting heckled, and let's see how he responded.
All down politics of MAGA Republicans continues to be a drumbeat. But.
So in the background, you can hear someone screaming, "You stole the election."
No. Let him go. Let him go. Let him go. That's okay. Folks, ignorance knows no boundaries.
Truth.
But we never gave up. We never gave in. And we're delivering for the American people now.
Okay. First thing is the actual point he made in the first clip I showed you, which there is a big distinction to be made. I hear a lot of people on the left kind of act like that's a silly point to make. No, all Republicans are real. No, there's a difference, okay? You can be real conservative. You can believe in all of these policies that we might disagree with, but that's democracy. Let's hash it out. Let's see whose idea wins. That's very different than someone who maybe agrees on a lot of those policies, but then on top of it, and this is the part that is just so damaging, is against democracy, wants to claim fraud every time one of their candidates or themselves lose in a race. They value power more than they value our democratic process, more than they value it surviving. And so that by itself, on top of all of the, more radical and disturbing language they use, because that matters too, language matters too, and they do say much more explicitly harmful things. But just the democracy part by itself, which the MAGA Republican brand, I think, is now, characterized by, is unforgivable and unacceptable. And so I like that distinction being made. It's not to say we're all hunky-dory with non-anti-democratic Republicans, right? But it is a block of people we can at least function in a government with. Absolutely, MAGA Republicans, not so much. And that's why they're so much more dangerous and need to be called out so much more aggressively. And so I like that distinction being made. And then, and I always do it on my show as well, and then the way he dealt with the heckler was good. Not that that's the most important thing in the world, but it always fascinates me to see any public speaker or performer kind of how they deal with that type of moment, because you have a few different options. And him making a point about ignorance having no bounds is right. That's the perfect time to bring up that point, right? You know, this person's screaming that he stole the election, which is just completely based out of lies he read on the internet, and articles he got sent from theelectionwasstolen.com / Uncle Bob. And so I like that he said that. It's not a huge insult. You're not asking for the guy to be assaulted by your audience, Trump, but it is making an important point about what that heckler represents, right? So interesting to see. It seems like Joe Biden has a lot more energy in these rallies than he does in his speeches. A lot of times in his recent speeches, I'm falling asleep the entire time. So I enjoyed watching this rally, kind of a little higher energy. Maybe he's a little more boosted from his recent successes. But either way it goes, some good moments from Joe Biden there. And then in a separate event, I'm just going to tag this on the end, that he did that wasn't recorded because it was a private event, but some reporters quoted some moments from it. He talked about the semi-fascism of some of the Republican Party. So here's a couple quotes that were pulled out of this event. "What we're seeing now is either the beginning or the death knell of extreme MAGA philosophy," Biden told Democratic donors in the Washington suburb of Rockville, calling out those he labeled as extreme Republicans. Biden said, "It's not just Trump. It's the entire philosophy that underpins the I'm going to say something. It's like semi-fascism." And I agree with him on that. So lots of big statements being made by the old Joseph Robinette lately. And he seems to be motivated to go campaign for midterm candidates, which is interesting. Maybe those legislative victories have motivated the candidates to ask him to do that, whereas before he was a little bit toxic and people didn't really want him to campaign because his poll numbers were so bad. But they seem to be ticking up a little, not real significantly. So I don't know, but maybe people at least want to be associated with him so that they can take credit for the successes that he's kind of overseen recently.